Dealing with really intense psychedelic processes is perhaps the hardest part of being a plant medicine facilitator or guide. It is the heart of the training to learn how to help people through the most vulnerable, painful, and out of control experiences. And so today I just want to talk just a little bit about the core ways in which we create safety for individuals that are having what the Western world would call psychotic breaks. These are massive experiences that happen in the portal of a psychedelic medicine that usually includes a lot of noises that the individual is making. It could be crying, screaming, speaking in tongues, yelling out loud. Often there's a lot of physical thrashing, resistance. Sometimes people try to run. Sometimes they try to harm themselves or others. But the heart of what I'm speaking of today is an individual that has gone into a process that they cannot control. And why this happens. So my name is Courtney. I'm the CEO of Plant Medicine People. I've been doing this work for 20 years or so. It's still and always will be a mystery in some ways to sort of try to understand why some people have these really intense experiences. Full disclosure, I've had one myself. I've had several that almost led to what we would call a psychotic break, and one where I lost control. I was frenetic in the space, sobbing. I had this experience of what I could call a schism, where I was present still, kind of, to what was occurring. I knew I was out of control. I don't remember a lot of the details, but I do remember coming back and recognizing that I had been disruptive in the space and really collapsing into shame. So that's a really big marker around what I want to emphasize today for all of us who are space holders. When somebody goes into this process of a psychotic break, actually, ideally, we can help them avoid it by creating lots of elements of safety, by being very gentle and titrating in, especially with people that we feel are sensitive. But hey, look, these medicines are unpredictable, and even with our best efforts, sometimes these experiences happen, and that's okay. So what we want to do, in the words of my teacher, is be grounded as the earth itself, is to first and foremost make sure if we're the one going to help someone through a process like this, that our nervous systems are regulated, that we are calm and trusting, that we know everything's okay, because fear is contagious. And even if we go put on a happy face and do our best to pretend that we are in that space of regulation, it is not enough. And the individual in their sensitivity will likely feel the lack of trust, the fear in us, and that will escalate. So the person that goes to help somebody in this state needs to have done a lot of work with these medicines and their own spaces of darkness and relationship with control, that they know, okay, it's got to be okay. Yeah, because that is critical to it becoming okay very quickly, is that the person helping is really holding that as a true core belief, okay? And then when we go to help people in this state, the other thing not to do is try to control the process. Let's say somebody's talking out loud very loudly. You don't shush them. You don't try to make them quiet. And this is very difficult because that's what you're going to want, is for them to calm down. It doesn't happen through the space of control. What is likely occurring in the individual that is having this process, that there's a trauma loop that is trying to express itself and to resolve itself. And so we hold space. So sometimes you need a couple of people to help bring this person outside the maloka or the ceremony space so that it's not as disruptive to the individuals. That's why it's better to do this in nature at a retreat than it is in a living room. But if that's not possible, no matter what we want to do is give unconditional love, support, that energy of everything's okay. Try to regulate the nervous system of the individual by matching their breath and then slowly slowing it down. Basically what we do is we give an invitation to the person in the process to meet us in a calmer, peaceful state. But it's an invitation, not something that we force. So you can hold this container for as long as it's necessary to bring somebody back down into a calmer state of consciousness. In my experience, it can take anywhere from 30 minutes to many, many hours or even days if the person is really in a deep portal of trauma. But that actually can be sped up by in contrast to our unconditional acceptance and just kind of love and compassion for what is happening. The only other thing to note that we do use in the space of control is, of course, the individual is trying to hurt themselves or others. Then we will restrain them gently. I usually create a little circle around somebody's wrist, and I'll hold it tightly if they're fighting me, but then I'll just hold them really loosely if they're not, just because I want to use the minimum amount of force, and just to keep them safe. But really, then we use our tools, our shamanic tools that the training, especially working with medicines like ayahuasca, are all about. The power of song, the power of sound as a vibration. There's all kinds of different essences and different shamanic tools and energy work and things that we can do. But the goal is always to allow the individual to close that trauma loop and come back to a regulated state. And the last bit that is absolutely essential, I mentioned it in my own personal process with this, is that when the person becomes conscious again, when they're back, and you can tell by their language or the light in their eyes that they've returned to a level of consciousness in a space of control, we want to wholly welcome them back without an ounce of shame. It is so important that we not ridicule or blame or say anything that might actually perpetuate the feeling of shame, because every single person I have ever witnessed go through something like this, they have this like shock of what have I done? And we want to mitigate with that with like, it's all okay. The person that goes through this process is doing their best, and no matter what, we don't want them to actually be validated by us that they have anything to be ashamed of. We want them to feel welcome back into a calm state. Everything's okay, big hugs, big smiles, just make them feel welcome. Normalize the process. It is actually relatively normal with psychedelic medicines. There's lots of us that have gone through it and lived to tell the tale and are better for it, actually. But really, that's the essence of helping people through this, is no shame, lots of grounded trust, deep, deep relationship with the medicines that we're working with, and this allowance for this loop to be closed, because that's where this individual can have the most remarkable recovery. If we force it, if we shame them, we are going to re-traumatize them. We are going to make that so much worse for them. And that's obviously the opposite of what we're trying to do with these miraculous medicines. Thank you so much for listening. If you have comments and questions, please leave them in the comments section below. Follow us, Plant Medicine People, for more content like this. Be well out there.